There are moments in life that do not feel random at all. A person appears, and in one quiet second, everything inside you shifts. Not loudly, not dramatically, but deeply. And once it happens, you cannot return to the version of yourself that existed before that meeting. So, before you scroll away, stay with me, because this may explain something your heart has been trying to say for a very long time. Maybe you have tried to move on. Maybe you told yourself it was done, finished, over. But something in you still turns back, still listens, still feels the pull. That is not weakness. That is not fantasy. And it is not you being unable to let go for no reason. Some connections arrive like a storm. Others arrive like truth. Quiet, heavy, certain. They do not need to announce themselves because your soul already knows. And when someone carries a meaning this deep, distance does not erase it. Silence does not kill it. Time does not easily soften it. If this connection has stayed alive in you through months of confusion, through long nights, through all your effort to act normal, then listen closely, because what you are feeling may not be meant to be ignored. It may be asking you to see something more clearly now than ever before. You can look back at every detail and try to make it make sense. You can study the timing, the words, the silence, the strange turns, the missed chances, the almost moments. But even then, part of you already knows that logic was never fully leading this story. This person did not just enter your world by accident. Their presence touched something in you that had been sleeping for years, maybe even longer. Since they arrived, your inner world has not been the same. Your standards changed. Your emotional depth changed. The way you see love changed. And even now, while you try to be practical, there is still something in you that refuses to call it meaningless. Stay here, because this matters. Sometimes, the deepest truth does not come through noise. It comes through a quiet knowing that will not leave you alone. You may feel torn between what your heart senses and what your mind can prove. One part of you wants to trust the feeling. Another part wants hard evidence, closure, certainty, a clear answer. But some truths do not begin with proof. They begin with recognition. They begin with that strange feeling of knowing someone before you really know them. They begin with peace mixed with fear, hope mixed with pressure, and a sense that this meeting opened a door inside you that cannot be shut again. You may have asked yourself if you imagined the whole thing. Maybe you wondered if you gave too much meaning to a connection that was never as deep as it felt. Maybe you told yourself you were romanticizing it, making it bigger than it really was, holding on to a story instead of reality. But false things usually fade when time tests them. Illusions lose their force. Fantasy gets weaker. What is unreal cannot hold this much weight for this long without breaking apart. Yet this connection is still here. Maybe quieter now, maybe changed, but still alive in you. That matters. And no, this does not mean you must chase, beg, or hold your life still. It means there may be something unfinished in the lesson, something still moving beneath the surface. Real soul-level connections are not loud in the way obsession is loud. Obsession panics, obsession demands, obsession feeds on fear. What you feel may be different. It may be deeper, calmer, heavier, and harder to explain. It may rise in quiet moments, in dreams, in sudden waves of memory, in the strange peace that appears right after the pain. That is why you cannot dismiss it so easily. Something in you recognizes that this person did not only awaken love, they awakened truth. And once truth enters your life, even in painful form, it changes everything that comes after. What makes this even harder is the silence. Silence feeds doubt faster than almost anything else. When words stop, the mind starts filling the space. It creates fear. It creates stories. It asks questions that have no clean answer. Did they care at all? Did they feel it too? Was I alone in this? Was it only me? But silence does not always mean nothing is there. Sometimes silence means the feeling is too large for someone to carry well. Some people go quiet not because they feel nothing, but because they feel too much and do not know how to stay open under that pressure. They pull back when something becomes too real. They retreat when they feel seen too deeply. They create distance when vulnerability starts asking more from them than they know how to give. And this is where many powerful connections get tested. One heart wakes up first, the other resists. One person is ready to be honest, The other is still hiding behind old habits, old defenses, old pain. Listen carefully because this is where the story changes. When someone meets a connection that mirrors their deepest truth, they either grow or they run. Not always forever, but often for a while. And if they ran, it may not have been because the bond lacked meaning. It may have been because the meaning was too strong to avoid changing their life. You became a mirror for them, and mirrors are not always comfortable. A real connection does not just make people feel loved, it makes them feel exposed. It shows them what they want, what they fear, what they avoid, and what they still need to heal. That kind of meeting can shake a person in ways they do not show. On the outside, they may seem calm, distant, even unaffected, but inside, something may be moving in silence. People often think that if someone truly cared, they would instantly know what to do. But deep emotion does not always create instant courage. Sometimes it reveals how afraid a person still is. Afraid of losing control, afraid of being known, afraid of failing at something that actually matters, afraid of needing someone in a way they cannot manage yet. And that fear can look like withdrawal. It can look like mixed signals. It can look like hesitation. Still, something important remains true. Once a person is touched at that depth, they do not simply forget it. They may distract themselves, they may delay, they may deny it. But what is real leaves a mark. This is why signs seem to keep appearing for you. Not because you are meant to stay stuck forever, but because some part of this bond is still asking to be understood, not buried. And when life keeps bringing something back into your awareness, it is often because the soul has not finished learning from it yet. There is a major difference between forcing something and knowing something. Forcing comes from panic. It comes from fear of loss. It comes from the need to control the ending. But knowing is quieter. It does not scream. It waits. It watches. It trusts what it feels without needing to break every door down. That is where your power returns. The moment you stop trying to drag clarity out of the dark and begin living as if your peace matters too. This is the turning point, so stay with me. Hope is not always weakness. Sometimes hope is intuition without noise. Sometimes it is the heart recognizing movement before the eyes can see it. And yes, something may be moving now, even if nothing has been spoken yet. Resistance softens slowly. Walls do not fall in one day. Hearts that shut down do not reopen on command. But change can still be happening under the surface, quietly, deeply, steadily. The idea of truly losing you may be starting to feel more real to them than the comfort of staying hidden. The life they built to protect themselves may no longer feel as safe as it once did. Because once someone experiences real emotional truth with another person, ordinary distance starts to feel empty. Ordinary connection starts to feel thin. And even if they do not say it, they may be comparing everything to what they felt with you, not because you are perfect, but because what was awakened cannot easily be replaced by something easier, safer, or shallower. At the same time, this is not only about them, it is also about who you are becoming through all of this. Since this connection entered your life, you have changed. You may be more sensitive now, but you are also more awake. You feel more deeply, yes, but you also see more clearly. You cannot return to surface-level love. You cannot pretend not to notice what is missing in half-hearted connections. You cannot go back to accepting confusion as romance or inconsistency as passion. Something in you matured through this. Something sharpened. Something got honest. That is not a loss. That is growth. Sometimes a person does not enter your life to stay immediately. Sometimes they come to wake you up first. They show you what is possible. They reveal the parts of you that were alive all along but buried under routine, fear, and compromise. They become the event that divides your life into before and after. Before you met them, maybe you tolerated less truth. After them, you cannot. Before them, maybe you accepted little pieces of affection and called it enough. After them, your heart knows better. That is why letting go feels so hard. You are not only releasing a person, you are standing face to face with the truth that was born inside you because of them. And that truth now asks you to live differently, more honestly, more bravely, more in line with your own worth. Deep bonds rarely move in straight lines. They circle back, they return, they bring the same lesson at a deeper level each time. They ask for more truth than ordinary relationships do, more courage, more self-respect, more patience, more clean intention. What makes it painful is not always a lack of love. Often it is a difference in timing. One person is ready to open, the other is still learning how not to hide. One is ready for presence, the other is still fighting old patterns. And unresolved feelings do not disappear just because two people stop speaking. They wait, they sit in the background. They rise again when the noise of daily life gets quiet. This is why late nights can feel so full. This is why mornings can carry sudden memories. This is why random moments hit you harder than expected. But here is the part many people miss. You are learning the difference between attachment and alignment. Attachment says, I need this person in order to be okay. Alignment says, I am already becoming whole, and what is meant for me must meet me there. That shift changes everything. It removes pressure. It clears your energy. It stops the bond from being fed by panic. And when panic fades, what is real becomes easier to see. If it is meant to rise, it will rise on truth, not fear. If it is meant to end, it will end with honesty, not confusion. Either way, you win back yourself. When you stop chasing clarity and begin living it, the entire dynamic starts to transform. Your energy changes, your presence changes, the way the bond feels changes. You are no longer standing in the same place emotionally, and they can feel that, even from a distance. They sense when your focus comes back to your own life. They sense when you are no longer waiting in the old, anxious way. They sense when your value is no longer tied to whether they choose to step forward. And strangely, that is often when things begin to move. Not because you played a game, not because you pulled away to get a reaction, but because grounded energy is powerful. It does not beg, it does not collapse, it does not perform. It simply stands in truth. And truth asks everyone around it to respond honestly. This is where fear begins losing its grip. They may start to feel the reality of your absence in a new way, not as drama, not as punishment, but as truth, as consequence. As the quiet realization that something rare cannot be left hanging forever without cost. Listen to this part carefully. If they return, it will need to be different, clearer, cleaner, more intentional. Real love cannot survive on feeling alone. It must live in action. It must show up. It must carry accountability. That is why everything may have slowed down. Anything built before this level of awareness may have collapsed anyway. What is being prepared now must be stronger than chemistry. It must be able to live in daylight. And if they do return, you will not need to shrink to receive them. You will not need to ignore your own standards. You will not need to accept confusion and call it destiny. You will know the difference now between longing and alignment, between intensity and intimacy, between mixed signals and real effort. That is the gift hidden inside this pain. It trained your discernment. It taught your heart to stop worshipping potential and start respecting truth. Even now, what is coming next is not asking you to abandon yourself for love. It is asking you to hold your center so that only what is real can reach you. And if they do not return, that truth will still save you. Because you are no longer where you once were. You have already come back to yourself in ways that matter. You have already learned that your worth is not something another person grants or withholds. You have already seen how deeply you can love without losing the deepest part of who you are. That changes your future forever. So yes, something may still be unfinished here. There may still be words unspoken, feelings unshared, truths waiting for courage. But unfinished does not mean broken. It does not mean you must stop your life and live in longing. It means there is still movement in the story, and your job is not to force the next scene. Your job is to become so honest with yourself that whatever comes next finds you ready. There comes a moment when longing starts turning into understanding. It does not happen all at once. It happens slowly, after enough tears, enough questions, enough inner battles, enough nights where your heart finally gets tired of running in circles. Then something softens. You stop asking only, why did this happen to me, and start asking, what did this awaken in me? That shift is powerful. It turns pain into wisdom. It turns waiting into becoming. It turns confusion into clarity. This connection may have entered your life to strip away what was false. False comfort, false love, false versions of yourself that survived by settling. It may have shown you the difference between being chosen out of convenience and being met in truth, between emotional intensity and actual emotional availability, between craving and compatibility. And as that understanding settles deeper, your suffering starts losing its power over you. You still think of them, yes, but the thoughts begin to feel different. Less frantic, less desperate, more clear, more steady, more honest. And that matters because when one person in a deep bond truly grows, the whole connection must respond. Energy seeks balance. It cannot keep moving in the exact old pattern forever if one side has become more conscious, more grounded, more self-respecting. That shift reaches farther than you think. It changes the field between you. It changes what can continue. It changes what can no longer survive. And often it starts moving things before a single word is spoken. They may be feeling this change more than you realize. Your energy no longer reaches them as a longing alone. It reaches them as presence, as truth, as a quiet withdrawal of effort that leaves them face to face with their own emotions. And that can be more confronting than any pursuit ever was, because now they cannot blame timing, noise, or your intensity. Now they must meet themselves. They must face the patterns they once used for protection. Emotional walls, control, distance, detachment. These things may have helped them survive before, but now they keep them alone. To move forward, they must risk vulnerability. To stay back, they must accept the loss of something rare. That is the edge they may be standing on now. And you are standing on your own edge too. Yours is the edge of self-trust, of refusing to betray your own worth while love finds its true shape. The outcome of this connection does not depend only on how much you feel. It depends on how deeply you honor yourself inside the feeling. That is the part no one can do for you. The more true you stay to yourself, the clearer the path becomes. Whether that path leads to reunion or peaceful release, it will no longer destroy you. Because you are stronger now. You are clearer now. You are no longer asking for signs just to survive the day. You are learning to recognize truth by how it settles in your body, in your mind, in your spirit. Less tightness, less panic, more openness, more calm, more trust. There may still be a conversation waiting to happen. Words that were never spoken, feelings that never got the space they needed, truths that sat too long behind fear. That does not mean tomorrow. That does not mean instantly. But it may mean soon, in the way real things arrive, not rushed, not forced, but ready. And if fear rises in you, let it rise without obeying it. Fear is often just memory trying to act like prophecy. It tells you the past will repeat itself. It tells you hurt is coming again. It tells you to either chase or run, but you are not the same person you were before. Your worth no longer depends on being chosen in a confused moment. Your growth has changed the way you love. You now want depth over fantasy, presence over promises, clarity over emotional smoke. That standard calls everything forward. It asks the bond to become real or reveal where it cannot. And both answers carry freedom. Stay with this, because it is important. True bonds are not here to trap you in endless suffering. They are here to guide you back to your own truth. If communication opens, let it open naturally. Do not rush to fill every silence. Do not hand away your center just because the door cracked open. Let actions breathe. Let intention prove itself. Let your peace stay in the room with you. The next part of this story, whatever shape it takes, will need your discernment as much as your heart. A quiet kind of strength begins to grow when you no longer need outside reassurance to trust what you feel. You stop scanning every detail for proof. You stop needing constant signs just to believe your own experience. Something in you settles, and from that settled place, the connection starts looking different. It becomes less about whether someone finally validates your heart, and more about whether what exists can stand inside truth. You no longer feel the need to defend your feelings to people who do not understand. You no longer have to make your pain sound reasonable to anyone. You know what touched you. You know what changed you. And you also know now that real love does not ask you to twist yourself into confusion just to keep hope alive. When you stop bending, the bond must answer honestly. It either rises to meet the level of truth you now live in, or it shows you where it cannot go. And as hard as that sounds, it is a blessing. Because uncertainty loses power when honesty enters the room. They may feel the space you used to fill with effort. They may feel how different your absence feels when it is no longer mixed with hidden waiting. Your presence has become cleaner now, less anxious, less reactive, more whole. That kind of energy stirs people. It brings unresolved feelings to the surface. It asks them to decide whether they will remain guarded or finally step toward what they know is real. And many things can change when a person realizes too late is beginning to feel possible. Distance may delay expression, but it does not always erase connection. Sometimes what is real grows in silence before it can speak. Sometimes life slows everything down because anything rushed would break under the weight of what still needs healing. So if this bond is still in motion, trust that pace more than your fear. Anything built before this awareness may have fallen apart anyway. But what can be built from here, if both people choose truth, can be stronger, clearer, and more lasting than what once seemed urgent. And if that choice is not made, then the lesson still stands. You have already returned to yourself. You have already crossed a deep inner threshold. You know now that love must be lived, not only felt. You know that chemistry is not enough. You know that longing is not the same as alignment. You know that peace matters. And whatever comes next will meet you at that level. That is why this story is not only about reunion, it is about revelation. It is about the end of illusion. It is about becoming someone who can recognize what is true without abandoning their own soul to get it. So if something inside you still says this is not fully over, do not panic. Just stay grounded, stay honest, stay open without losing yourself. Let life reveal the next chapter. Let love show you what is real. And above all, remember this. What is meant to reach you in truth will not require you to betray the person you have become just to receive it.